Daily added sugars are one of the leading causes of obesity and weight gain in America. So if you're looking to achieve a weight loss goal, then really addressing these added sugars is key. So today I'm sharing 10 super easy food swaps on how you can cut out 20 grams of sugar per day in order to achieve your weight loss goal in today's video. All right guys, if you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance. On my channel, I'm typically talking about the science-backed and holistic methods that you can use in order to achieve your wellness dreams. So if you have a wellness goal in mind, make sure you subscribe. Now just a little history on why it is that sugar causes us to gain weight so easily. Sugar is the simplest form of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates in general are the main drivers of our storing hormone insulin. So the more of these carbohydrates, especially the more simple forms of carbohydrates, as in sugars that we have, the more of that storing hormone that will be released. And when insulin is secreted in response to these carbohydrates and sugars, it causes your body to physically shut off the fat burning process called lipolysis. And a little scary fact, the average American consumes around 77 grams of added sugar per day. And kids are consuming around 81 grams of added sugar per day. And this will really drive up the insulin response, really drive up weight gain, not to mention other health factors that sugar has been tied to. Now, if we can even reduce sugar intake by 20 grams per day, that's a pretty significant amount that you're taking out per week, which means that your body doesn't have to pump out as much of that fat storing hormone insulin either. So definitely a win-win when it comes to achieving a weight loss goal. Okay, so let's dive into those 10 super simple swaps that you can make. Now, this first one is swapping out pre-made overnight oats or pre-made chia puddings for the homemade variety. There's a lot of different brands out there right now that are making overnight oats and chia puddings and having them as a quick grab and go option. But when you look at the nutrition facts and the ingredients for these food products, you can see that sugar or some type of sugar is going to be one of the first ingredients. And if you're not aware with the ingredients label, companies have to list the ingredients by how much that product that they have in there. Now, one really sneaky industry secret, and this thing just really bothers me on how they can get away with this, is in order to make it so that sugar doesn't seem like one of the top ingredients, what they'll do is use different types of sugars. So maybe tapioca syrup, brown rice syrup, maple syrup, agave. If they use small amounts of each one of those, so it adds up to be a larger amount of sugar, but it's from different sources, that can be lower down on the ingredients label because there's not as much of each of those individual ones. So definitely take a look at that, see if you can find that there's ingredients that use different types of sugars, because if that's the case, then very likely they did that because the sugar was one of the top ingredients in the first place. Now, instead, you can make your own option for both of these grab and go foods. In fact, I have a really great chia pudding recipe that you guys can check out with this video right here. Okay, number 2, swap out some of the green juices with green juices that don't use any fruit or only use lemon. So a lot of green juices just don't taste good. There's very few people who will say that drinking juiced kale tastes good. So what a lot of companies will try and do to make it so that you'll like their product is that they'll use a lot of apple or some other type of fruit to really sweeten it up. And this can actually pack in a pretty significant amount of sugar. In fact, from one really popular juice brand, the Sweet Greens juice has about 28 grams of sugar. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of people who say, oh, that's not added sugar, that's from an apple. You have to consider what the effect of added sugar is really doing. The reason why added sugar is such a problem is because it's a concentrated form of sugar. In other words, it doesn't have the fiber or fats or protein that slow down the release into your body that it would normally be paired with any other type of whole food product. So the impact that an apple has on your system versus apple juice is going to be really different. Your body is going to much more quickly absorb the apple juice than it is going to be from the apple. So if you are going to use a green juice, just make sure that you're using a pure greens option or use one that has lemon juice in it instead of another type of fruit. This is going to be a lot lower in sugar. Okay, number 3, swap gummy vitamins for capsules. Now, if you're taking supplements of any sort, I understand gummy vitamins are more fun to take because it's essentially like eating candy. But each serving of a gummy vitamin is going to have around 6 to 8 grams of added sugar. So if we're looking at multiple different types of supplements that you're taking, like let's say you're taking those apple cider vinegar gummies and then a multivitamin and then maybe a D3, and all of those are gummies, then we're looking at 18 to 24 grams of sugar just from having those supplements. Where if you use the capsules, that's not going to have added sugars, so it's a much better option to get your sugar content lower. Okay, number 4, swap out the sports drinks for just water with Celtic sea salt. So when I'm talking sports drinks, I'm talking about things like Gatorade. In fact, 120-ounce bottle of Gatorade is going to have around 35 grams of sugar. And specifically, sweetened beverages or sweetened drinks are one of the leading causes of obesity in America, in addition to the fact of just added sugars in general, because they're are so easy to absorb and break down because you're just drinking them. So this will just be rapidly absorbed into your system and really spike your blood glucose and really spike your insulin, the storing hormone, as a result. Where instead, if you are looking to replace your electrolytes, especially if you are working out, you can simply just add in a pinch of Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt into your water. In fact, this is a practice that a lot of people use for endurance training anyway with salt tablets. Okay, number 5, swap out the trail mix that uses chocolate and dried fruit for my AEN trail mix instead. Now, dried fruit obviously has the water removed from the fruit itself, making it a lot more concentrated in sugar and easier to eat a lot more sugar than you would if you had the whole fruit. And then of course chocolates, those are typically also going to be in a lot of trail mixes, and this can drive up the sugar content to about 20 grams per half cup. Where instead a trail mix that you can use in your yogurts or if you're on the go, that's going to not really spike that insulin the way that the sugar will, is using a combination of toasted coconut flakes, pumpkin seeds, cashews, walnuts, almonds, and also raw cacao nibs that's going to bump up the fiber as well as provide a little chocolatey taste. Okay, number 7, higher sugar beef jerkies for low sugar beef jerkies. Now there's likely always going to be some degree of sugar added in, but it doesn't have to be very high when we're looking at using beef jerky. But it's when these marinades get added onto the jerky itself that really drive up the sugar content. So some popular ones would be like teriyaki or the honey mustard. And if you have one of those typical bags of beef jerky, this is going to be around 15 to 16 grams of added sugar. So to be safe, just make sure you're not opting for ones that use a marinade. Just go for the simple type of beef jerkies, but just make sure that you still check the ingredients label on the back just to be sure. Okay, number 7, iced teas for unsweetened iced tea. Iced tea, if you're not specifically opting for unsweetened iced tea, is really packed with sugar. Just 1 cup will typically have over 20 grams of added sugar. And remember, sweetened drinks are one of the leading causes of obesity in America. So instead, if you're getting pre-made iced tea, just make sure that you check that it is specifically unsweetened. Even if you're someplace like Starbucks or various coffee shops, generally the basic form of iced tea is going to have some amount of sweetener added in. So you always have to make sure you're specifying unsweetened iced tea. Okay, number 8, swap tonic water for soda water or sparkling water. Now, tonic water is usually going to be used in some type of alcoholic drink. And in this case, soda water would be the easiest swap for tonic water. Tonic water really drives up the sugar content of the cocktail. In fact, just 1 can of tonic water has about 30 grams of added sugar. So if you are going to make some type of cocktail, just make sure that you are swapping out the tonic water, which is really high in sugar, for the 0 sugar soda water. Okay, number 9, this one's for all my parents out there. Swap out the very sugary kid snacks for pretty much really anything else. But in this case, it would be ideal to just make sure instead of snacking, you are having full meals instead where you don't need to have those snacks. Talked about this in various videos before on how this can actually help further with your weight loss goals. You can check out the details for why meals are better than snacking when it comes to weight loss with this video right here. But on top of that, it's actually pretty scary how bad a lot of kids snacks are. Unfortunately, it's just very common that a lot of kids snacks or kids breakfast items are really packed with a lot of sugar, which is a whole different video in itself for just kids' health. But also I've seen a lot of parents tend to snack on these snacks as well. So obviously there's things like Gushers, which have about 20 grams of sugar per one of those little packets. And then even items like Goldfish or various crackers and cookies. Although some of those don't technically have added sugars, they are packed with refined carbohydrates that have nearly the same response on our insulin levels as sugars itself. You'd be doing yourself and your kids a favor by not having these high sugary snacks and instead getting the habit on, if you are going to snack on something, having something that's going to be high in protein and fat and possibly even fiber to make sure that you're stabilizing those blood glucose levels and improving satiety so that you don't keep snacking. Because I don't know about you guys, if you've ever had Goldfish before, you never really get full on Goldfish. You keep eating them. I say that from personal experience as well. So obviously things like low sugar jerky, cheeses, nuts, seeds, peanut butters, almond butters, the AEN trail mix I talked about earlier, all of those are going to be much better options that help to support your wellness goals and are going to help reduce the sugar intake for your kids as well. Okay, number 10, swap sugar-free desserts for truly low sugar or real sugar-free desserts. So if you are going to have some type of dessert, you've probably seen a lot of these 0 added sugar desserts, but if you look at the ingredients label, you can see where a lot of this marketing trickery can come into play, because you'll see things on there like date paste, which is just dates, the dried fruit that's pretty high sugar dried fruit that's been mashed down into a little paste that's packed with sugar. We're using things like fruit juices, which still has that same impact where it's going to really elevate the insulin level. I've even seen some companies say that they're sugar free or that they have 0 added sugars when they still use maple syrup or honey or other types of just pure sugar sources. So again, it's really deceiving what you're going to see on the marketing on the outside always look at the ingredients label, check what's actually in the food itself. And there are ways to have truly low sugar or zero sugar options for a dessert. A few months ago, I even shared one of my favorite zero sugar dessert options, which you can check out right here. But one hugely important thing to consider when it comes to sugar is that you can't just simply remove these items. It's crucial to make sure that you're replacing it with satiating foods that will help to actually reduce the sugar cravings itself. Otherwise, if you just completely remove those food products, you don't replace it with something that is going to be satiating, your sugar cravings are just going to be driven even further up. Which, if you have noticed that sugar cravings are really prevalent in your life, highly recommend you check out my 2 simple steps to stop sugar cravings with this video right here. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.